Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, I'm a little late on getting the video out today. A little tired, voice is a little bit raspy, but we had our big meeting yesterday. And that's always it's a highlight of our month for certain. And always the day after. We're all a little slow around here. I got to the meeting place yesterday just after 7. And we got home last night about 10 o'clock, and we had over 200 people at the meeting, and it was amazing. We had 2 great speakers, probably the best feedback I've ever gotten in total from people, just on the people that spoke. They both did an amazing job and just captivated everyone there. Just a really great time. I mean, every time is a great time, but this one was just it. There was my wife and I were talking last night after we got home, and it was a different feel, than ever before. And it's hard for me to put it into words. The best way that I could describe it is that the people they're serious. And we've had these meetings now for almost 3 years now, over 2.5. And I mean, if I could add up all the people that's come through the doors, because it's an open door policy, there'd be well over 1,000 people total. But we end up averaging 200 or so, 225 a month. But it's like we've whittled it down to the people that are really, really serious. And the people that are coming, yes, it's for fellowship. There's children all over the place, and they can come there and they can bring their children and not have to worry about the other children that their children are playing with. What are they hearing? There's none of the crazy woke kind of stuff. It's great so that people from really all walks of life, and there were several people there from out of state, as far away from like Arizona, the East Coast, that were coming to visit. I think North Carolina and Arizona, and I think like Wyoming or Nebraska, somewhere, all over the place. And then of course the many people that are local and regulars, and they can come there and find others that think like them, and that have the same view of the world. Their worldview is so similar, and that they're free to talk about what's going on and not look down upon like, oh, you're some kind of lunatic because you think that way. And so many people are talk and tell me that their friends, their family, their coworkers, they try to wake them up. They try to tell them, and they're all like, well, yeah, things are bad, but well, it'll turn around eventually. I mean, it can't be bad forever. It'll eventually improve, and it'll be all right. But there they can open up, and I'm telling you, the people there yesterday, it was fun. It was enjoyable. Just the fellowship was great as always, but there was also this air of seriousness. I felt that people, they knew that we were getting close. The time is coming, is drawing nigh, of when things are going to start getting pretty hard for us. Probably one of the things was, and I've mentioned this I think in Friday's video, that Joe Biden announced that he's seeking funding from Congress for another thing. It was a little unclear if it's a new one, or funding for the old one, or funding to just make a bunch and give it away, new research, whatever it is. But there was also implication that along with it could come some level of mandate, meaning that you have to get it. Now, before 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whenever it was all the thing was really coming out, there wasn't an official government mandate. Remember that. It was all, I mean, there were some certain requirements at certain levels of government, but most of it was, your work required it, or, the school required it, that kind of thing. Are we seriously now talking about a mandate? Now, this has been something that we've all speculated on over the last few years, that it's coming. But here we now have somewhat official speculation, at least. I mean, you can find it on pretty much all the mainstream news. They're talking about it, that there could be some level of mandate, requirement for everyone to get this. What are you going to do? I mean, we don't know how that's going to look. I know that there's going to be some people say, oh, well, that's not constitutional. He doesn't have that authority, can't do that. I can sit here and make several videos of all kinds of things that government doesn't have the authority to do, but has done them very clearly, overtly, and over again over the past few years. So just because the government or the president or whoever doesn't have the constitutional authority doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So stop right there. You can't say, oh, well, the ATF has no constitutional authority, but there's lots and lots of people getting thrown in jail and lots of guns being taken away from people because they have badges and guns, but they have no constitutional authority. So we can't look at things that way. We're watching things heat up. I've been reporting on this for the last few weeks of every week increase of case count. Every week, more fear and porn and craziness. We're all going to die. We're bound to see another one. They've been warning us since the last one, during the last one. And since then, they've been telling us, oh, wait till the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one. Are we at that point that we're at the next one? I don't know. It's possible. So we have to get ready for that. We know that the odds are, and this isn't any really thing that's a conspiracy. This is just based on how government works. Okay? Americans are too forgetful. We forget things 15 minutes after they happen. The government does this. They don't do something one time and then the next time they slack off. It's always increase power, increase authority, increase spending. There's in the last century, there's not been a time that the government has retracted its authority and power and scope and all that kind of stuff. They're constantly moving forward, taking more, consuming more. And so we saw what the government did 3 years ago and 2 years ago and a year ago. We know that the next time around, it's going to be worse. They're gonna increase what they do. Probably, I suspect, this is just my own speculation. I suspect that between the things that we know that they've been developing and things behind the scenes, they've probably developed enough technology and just infrastructure in the sense that the people and policies and stuff have been put into place around the country that it may not look as overt. It may be a little bit more subliminal. But I suspect that when it happens, it's going to be a lot of control and a lot of change. They've got to do this. We've got all this climate stuff that's happening. They're pushing that just ever so much. We're getting closer and closer to the 2030, big bingo year. The World Economic Forum, the United Nations have both, banded together, said that they're going to work together to ramp this up and push this along even further. So we know it's happening. It's happening all over the world. CBDC is, it could happen any day. The Fed Now program is now official. It has been. There's more and more indication that steps are being made toward CBDC. We're at a point now that technically we could have some kind of, currency collapse. Excuse me, my voice, I'm telling you. Currency collapse tomorrow. And then, oh, well, we've got the solution. We've got this digital currency. We'll just switch to that. We are walking very closely to all these things, and we know that it's like they're converging on a point, and they're all getting closer. We know that it's gonna happen. We don't know when. We don't know quite how bad it is, but I think we all have a pretty good idea. And so I think part of that was what was the emotion, the sentiment yesterday at the meeting, that people were very serious, and there was a lot of very, very serious conversations. There's always people that stay late. There's people that come early, and there's people that stay late. But yesterday, usually the doors open technically at 11, but people will start coming in at 10 o'clock, mostly the regulars. They're coming in to help. Doors open at 11, and then the meeting doesn't start till 2. People don't really start filing in till 12, 1 o'clock. And then, we're done by 4:30, 5 o'clock, and few people stick around for a half hour or so, and most of them leave, but then there's a small group. But yesterday was different. I mean, the building was filling up by 11:30, and the building still had a lot of people in it talking, at least until 8, 9 o'clock last night. I mean, it was a lot. In fact, I was outside at 10 o'clock telling people in the parking lot, like, we're going home. I'm tired. Let's get out of here. And I think it was because there was so much very intense, fun, fellowshipping going on, but also intense conversation, intense, discussion about things of what we have to be doing this. This is something we have to do. This is something we have to do. We have to put, a lot of attention on this area or this area. And it wasn't like this hyperbole, these conversations. It was very specific, the conversations that I was hearing, how as a group or a small group, because if you've watched my channel, that we have it's the big meeting, but it's really a community of communities. There's several small groups throughout the area that come to that meeting, and they're talking about how to communicate with each other, how to work within their group, sharing ideas. Maybe this group over here is doing something really well, and they're sharing it with these 2 or 3 groups. And it was like there's this pressure on everyone, this pressure to get things moving faster, to get serious faster, to get prepared faster. And I'm not saying all this to cause anyone to, oh my goodness, I'm so far behind, I'm gonna die. It's not that. I mean, there should be some motivation, what Grandpa always say, a lot of fire under your hind end. We need that sometimes. It's too easy for us people to just get into this complacency state, and we're just like, well, I've got time. I've got all these other things I need to do. I'll work on that in a few weeks. Maybe you need to work on it now. Maybe we are running out of time. We're watching the handwriting on the wall, folks. We have to stop this. Well, I'm gonna take a break for a while, or this is my burnout. I get it. I go through burnout. I mean, I'm making several videos every day. There are often times that I sit here just completely a blank slate, not having any clue what to make a video on, and sometimes it feels like a burnout. And I have to really fight and push through it sometimes. Same thing with the preps, I get a burnout, but I recognize it. And I'm like, I've got to push through this. I don't have the time to sit here for days or weeks or months because of a burnout. I don't have the time for that. I have to push through it. I have responsibilities. I have a family that's depending on me. I have a community that's depending on me. I don't have the time to just burn out and switch gears and do something else for a while so it refreshes my mind. I have to push through. Thankfully, the Father has always been gracious enough and has helped me. If that happens, it's like, okay, I need to start praying. Give me the strength and the guidance and the wisdom and the encouragement and the ideas to push through all this. But we have to be serious now, folks. This isn't a game, and this isn't time for playing around. This is a time for being serious. And whatever your situation is, I don't know it, but whatever that situation is, you need to be taking things, hardcore. Even if you're just living in an apartment somewhere in the city, well, what are your plans in that apartment? What are your plans for food? What are your plans for water? What are your plans for, security in that little apartment? What are your plans if you have to be locked down? How long can you last? Do you have a way to get out? Do you have a place to go if you can get out? All of these other things, medicines, everything that you can think of. Are you able to produce anything? Even if you have a balcony, can you produce at least some food on that balcony? What are you able to do? We need to be thinking very serious about these things and then doing them. Some of you have been thinking about them for a while. It's time to stop thinking about them. It's time to do them. You may not have the full plan. You may not know exactly every, aspect of what you need to do. That's fine. You just need to start doing it. It's better to do it and make a few mistakes along the way than never do it. Never make a mistake because you're not doing anything. So start your preparations, start your self-sufficiency, your homestead, continue doing it, push through, and get ready, because there is a time coming that's going to be probably much harder than what we've seen in the last few years. We're in a worse place. You remember 3 years ago when that all started, the economy was in a pretty good place. Just the American spirit was in a pretty good place. Things weren't too bad. Everyone was expecting Trump to have a second term, all that kind of stuff. And the economy was doing great, and then it all come crashing down. We're down at that low. That was at a high when it happened. Now we're down at a low. Do you realize how much worse it's going to be, even if the exact same thing happens, even if it's not worse? Just the fact that as a country, economically, our spirit, and everything, we're at a low. It's going to be worse. And then if the actual intensity, if the actual restrictions are worse, then it's going to be bad. So we need to be serious, folks. We need to be getting our houses in order and preparing ourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.